think naturally the moment you take on or you gain a full-time salary, a lot of responsibility hits you in the face. And I think financial compatibility does play a strong role in a relationship. Um, I think there's a lot of stress that can happen if you don't understand your partner's spending habits. The advice that I would give someone graduating college, high school, or just a young adult is
Welcome, everybody, to another video of Middle Child Finance. In today's episode, we are changing up the formula. As you can guess, we have a special guest here with us today. We are actually going to make this a dialogue, and I'm very excited to introduce a great friend, great producer, Ernest Edinetti. As a brief introduction for those folks who don't know, Ernest Edinetti is also a graduate from the University of Virginia, currently a software engineer at Databricks, and is also, similar to myself, a first generation African American. So, welcome, Ernest.
yeah, thank you. I appreciate you for having me. One of the first dialogues on the channel. So I'm excited to see
Hopefully,
what we got for today.
oh, certainly, hopefully, many more after to come. And with that said, let's get straight into it, Ernest. How much money do you make? Let's be real. Let's be real.
Not
No,
enough.
no, we're just kidding. We're just kidding. But no, please walk us through on your outlook towards money from a young age, and then maybe just bring us up to speed of where your outlook of money is today.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think you kind of touched on it a bit in the intro, which is I am a first generation American, and my outlook of money at a young age, my parents really instilled into me that we don't have enough, or more so, we really gotta use our resources that we work for to maintain the household and pay for food and clothing. So oftentimes, if there was like that new video game or something like that, I usually didn't see it until around Christmas time or a birthday, or unless I worked hard for it. I think over the years, as I gotten older, that really shaped how I view money now. And in terms of saving, it really instilled a strong bound or base for me that saving is very important. And if you want something in life, you just have to work hard, save for it, and then once you're ready to purchase, enjoy that product that you're getting. So I think I carry that now in my older years.
No, I like that. I like that a lot. Honestly, at Middle Child Finance, we certainly love anyone who promotes the values of saving. And with that said, uh, both of you and I studied at the University of Virginia, and I know during that time you were studying computer science. And to my knowledge, you didn't take too many finance courses, but could you actually like walk us through, like, without having like too much like finance experience, like how would you rate yourself, at least upon graduating, in terms of your knowledge of finance and like, where you are now?
Yeah. I think to start with, I've always, again, made sure I saved. Um, I definitely didn't know what was the most effective or efficient ways to save to begin with, but I did always make sure that when I was in college, like working those small retail jobs, saving a bit of my paycheck aside for whatever, and then kind of enjoying the other half for leisure and so on and so forth. So I would say if I could rank myself on a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being the best, uh, back in the day, I wanna say I was maybe a smooth 5 in terms of the max level of possible. I think I was just hitting the boundary in terms of having a little bit of savings, and now I wanna say I'm not that much better. There's always room for improvement. Maybe I'm rating myself difficult, but I wanna say I'm maybe, like, at a 7 or 6.5. Um, Definitely, I always view my financial situation as how can I always be better no matter where I'm at, so I definitely know there's room for improvement to go.
I think you're being hard on yourself, but I'll certainly say from what I've seen, you could definitely bump yourself up a point or two. And like, I'm curious, or I guess like all the folks are curious, like, what's one resource do you think that like really improved your finance acumen and like, really kind of brought you up a couple pegs over the last few years?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I would say that, definitely, we went to college together, and at the time, I did have somewhat of a basis, but then being around you a lot, definitely, I saw how much more serious or uh, in tuned you were in terms of being financially stable or financially
You
well. So I
you
feel like
calling me
in
cheap?
college, a little bit, but no, I mean, whether you want to call it frugal, cheap, or financially intelligent, it definitely I could see how it helped gear like my mindset, kind of seeing you visibly do that. And then I feel like as I got older, upon graduating, I think the first book I got when I got my first 9 to 5 job was a Dave Ramsey's book. And I read that and kind of got a gist of his mindset and how he reads. And then from there, um, plug from you, I read the J.L. Collins Simple Path to Wealth. And I think that book alone kind of like skyrocketed my financial mindset and how I kind of like go about my saving tactics now. So that was like a huge like resource I used.
Nice. Well, to your point, yeah, this is sponsored content, but yeah, can't stress it enough. JL Collins, he deserves all credit to a lot of the content on this channel. And to your point, for anyone who doesn't know about Dave Ramsey, he's actually very popular for having coined the baby steps. So for anyone who's looking to get out of debt, I do highly recommend Dave Ramsey in terms of really developing that foundational skills in terms of like managing money, getting out of debt, and then thinking about the next steps after that. So oh, thank you for that. All right, sweet. But what percent of your annual salary goes to savings or investing?
Yeah. I think one of the biggest things that I've challenged myself so far to do from the Simple Path to Wealth book is saving at least 50% of my income. And then that other 50% is where expenses come out of and leisure spend. Holding true, like holding firm to that mentality has just been my biggest like must every time I get a paycheck or anything like that, or a bonus is just gotta set aside 50%. And it's definitely a struggle at times in different times of the year. And sometimes it's a little bit easier, but that's how much I would say I would save and put towards investments.
Now, for anyone who's watching, you can probably already tell Ernest is rich because I'm sure folks at home are probably hearing this like saying, what, 50%? I know personally, like me and you, we're very aligned in terms of like our perspectives on finance. But like a number of people hear 50% of like their annual salary going to savings and say, like, that's not possible. Like, you want me to eat ramen every day or like, live on a shoestring budget, but that's not possible. So, what do you like recommend to some of those folks who really just want to, reach that threshold, but possibly can't because they're just not making enough to get by?
I think the first thing is, and what I tend to do often is budget out what my monthly expense looks like. I think that's a number that not a lot of people know off the top of their head. And I have a spreadsheet that, granted, I don't look at the spreadsheet every week or every paycheck. There's just a spreadsheet that I track all my expenses, such as gas, how much I estimate groceries to be, um, what's it called, any bills, and then likewise subscriptions, any reoccurring costs that I have. But I think first and foremost is understanding what that number is or the ballpark of that number is. um, Once you have that off the rip, off the top of your head, you then want to assess how much of your like your biweekly or your monthly take home, what percent of that does your expenses account for in that? If it's under 50%, then to some degree you are able to hit that save 50%, and then the other 50% can cover your expenses and leisure. It's just kind of having that strong mindset to keep yourself accountable, to stay into your saving goals. Again, it's not easy. I definitely understand that every situation is different. So I'm not going to sit here and just yap like, oh, anyone can do it. But I think if you really try to act on a plan and see how it works for like maybe 2, 3 months, a quarter of the year, see how it works. It might be feasible in your situation. And if not, it's not the end of the world. I have a very mindset of if you shoot for the moon, you might land in the clouds or you might land in the stars mindset that if you try to save 50%, but you only end up saving 37%, that's still a win. You're saving, you're keeping, and you're retaining a little bit of your income, which can be used for investing later down the road.
Oh, I really like that. It's a very structured approach. Again, like just really taking inventory on what you're making and like really getting an understanding from there. I think really helps ground a lot of people because you'd be surprised. A lot of people really don't have insight on their own finances. And again, it starts with like really just understanding like what you're spending on and really like how you can like, find like certain ways to cut some corners to hopefully bring that money back into your account either either into your savings or into your investing account. Now, I'm sure everyone's curious, as a software engineer, what kind of car do you drive? We know you're rich, but we just want to know, like, what kind of car? Is it a Bugatti,
No,
Lamborghini?
no, not at all. I think for me, I was definitely delaying a lot of time to purchase a new vehicle out of college, so I took the time to not. And then finally, when I did, I had saved a decent amount, so I ended up buying a Tesla Model Y. For me, I just am very into the tech field and stuff like that. So the software associated with it was just like it was like another toy for me. So I was really excited to buy that.
Like alarms are ringing in my head. I'm thinking, woof, man, that's a pricey toy to have. But needless to say, really a really cool one, especially one that I've seen firsthand. But I'm curious, like, walk us through like how you made this financial decision and what's your perspective on making that financial decision today.
It's not an easy like financial decision, and the process of buying that car from what I initially wanted when time to buy a car and what I ended up with, I want to say that process took me about 5 to let's say 4 to 5 months to actually from wanting to buy a car to actually having keys in hand. It was a pretty long process, and I think I did a lot of deliberation in terms of considering how much would it cost to own this car in terms of maintenance and stuff like that, and then understanding, hey, like, is this even though people say electric vehicle is so much cheaper than a gas vehicle, is there hidden fees? And I had to do all that research. In terms of regardless of it being my car, the car I specifically drive now, and any other car, I think my main mentality was just making sure that I had the purchase power to buy that vehicle outright. And what I mean by that is I don't want to buy a vehicle knowing that, hey, if I miss a payment and or if God forbid I'm in a situation where I can't afford a payment, that the car could be repossessed from me by the bank. So I just made sure that I at least have the capital to purchase a vehicle outright. Personally, I wanted to do 50% in cash down. That was just my personal preference, and then wanted to finance the rest. The reason why I chose to finance is just because I think there is value in holding your cash out in hand. And I wanted to find a good middle ground where I bought a lot of it outright in cash, but then also kind of maintained a little bit of my cash capital. So that's why I chose to finance the other half of the car. And because of that, it allowed me to get a decent financing rate in terms of interest. And the term of the loan was something that I knew for sure that I wouldn't even need the full amount for, but it just was backup in case of worst case scenario. So it definitely wasn't the easiest financial decision, but I always made sure that worst case scenario, I could find my way out of it. And I didn't make a purchase that would put me living paycheck to paycheck or in a position where I'd be out without a car, worst case scenario.
No, I think you highlighted a lot of great points in there. One being that, again, here in Middle Child Finance, we do want to stretch a dollar. And again, as much as I'll like, bat an eye and give Ernest like a whole spiel about like, man, do you need a Tesla, X, Y, and Z? I think I'm all for anyone spending their money how they see fit. But I know Ernest, he's financially secure, especially when whatever you're purchasing, whether it be a house or a car, any of these like high ticket price items, you're purchasing them, but also knowing that you have the means to back it up through your income. I think that that's perfectly fine. And I think especially with the decision that you made. I know you have personal, you value cars. I know that you value like the type of car that you're driving, and I know that you did it from an intrinsic point of view, rather than I know like a lot of times you'll see folks are driving like very like luxury cars to like impress people, but then also too some folks are, just making financial decisions that aren't really reflecting the income that they're making, and then again, I think it's influencing a lot of their decisions. But
Yeah.
needless to say, like, you being that, like, you're a software engineer, you're capable of, like, again, like, supporting or even being capable of making, like, even what, a 50% down payment, like, that right there signifies that this is a financial decision that you are capable of making. And again, it's not setting you back in any way, shape, or form. So
Yeah, and I think, like, one thing I even wanna add to that is just that regardless of, like, career field, I know, like, definitely there's a lot of, advantages and maybe, like, positions of privilege that I might be in compared to other people. I think one thing that I do firmly believe in is just that with spending money, I don't think that it's wrong or people should necessarily be shamed for what they choose to use their money on. Whether you're the type of person that really likes designer clothes or material brands, fine. Or if you're someone that really likes experiences like concerts, travel,
mhm,
or whatever the case may be, my personal belief is that some of that lifestyle is okay so long as you kind of have your core saving principles top of mind first. I think the moment you start allowing your lifestyle to impact how much you save and your financial freedom, that's when we can like start critiquing what you're spending your money on. But so long as you hit that first part and that margin for me was, I gotta say 50% of my paycheck. So long as you hit that, if I wanted to go crazy and buy like 300, I don't know, Xbox 360s or whatever the new gen is now, I can do that. But to each
come
his
on,
own.
Ernest, you're
Just make
making
sure.
us look old. You're making us look old.
But whatever you choose to spend it on, I mean, so long as like you budgeted from your leisure and you're making sure you're not putting yourself in crippling debt, in my opinion, to each his own and spend as you will. Just work hard and save up for it.
Bingo. And I think honestly, that's a perfect segue into my next question. So, since graduating college and earning your first full time salary, has your lifestyle inflated, and in what ways, if so?
Um, yeah, but it comes from two angles. Um, I think the first angle to address is responsibility. I think naturally, the moment you take on or you gain a full time salary, a lot of responsibility hits you in the face, and what that looks like is no longer paying for your own car insurance or starting to pay for your own car insurance instead of your parents or the phone bill. You may want to transfer that to yourself, but I think as you begin to become more independent, a lot of responsibility comes to you, and that comes with making more money in life. I think just naturally responsibility finds you whether you want it or not. So that's one angle. And I think the other angle is just from a leisure perspective. I think naturally when you have resources available to you, you tend to start taking those easy way outs and shortcuts. And I think one way I like to compare it is when we're in college and we go out, our mentality might be, okay, so we're going to walk 1 mile in this direction. Then after we walk a mile, there's just going to be this bus stop that takes us for $1 or for free, whatever, and then take the bus. And we might start to calculate a whole hour and a half transit to make it to our destination. But then as I gotten older and have a full time job, I'm just like, let's just call an Uber, man, and, and make life pretty easy for ourselves. And um, personally, I consider that inflation, lifestyle creep, and inflation in the lifestyle. And it's always good to be honest with yourself and see what you have and see and keep that in mind of, hey, if this is a need or just part of my lifestyle creep, so that if you ever hit a moment where you do need to downsize, you know what to point to and say, okay, maybe I just don't need this. I think, like, for instance, one lifestyle creep for me is you and I have been getting into chess a lot recently. And for all the years I've been playing, I've never had a chess.com premium account. But because we've just been playing more and more recently, I'm just like, oh, what the heck? Let me just spend that extra $15 a month for it. And I definitely enjoy it because, I do a lot of chess in my pastime. So it's not a terrible use of that $15, right? But I do recognize that every dollar counts. And if I do need to say, hey, like I've been spending a lot lately, maybe I need to tune it down. maybe I can do my chess.com subscription every other month, or let me just cancel for a little bit just to help add up on the back end where I can. And that's an example of lifestyle creep that is expendable and I can just cut that out if I need to. And likewise, it might be like an Amazon Prime account as well. You spend over $100 a year for that, but by forcing yourself to actually pay for shipping, are you going to buy on Amazon so much? And those are the slight little things.
All right, we've talked about money, investing, saving, but money doesn't exist in a vacuum. And on that note, like it affects relationships too. So I'm curious. First off, I want to ask: are you currently seeing anyone?
Yeah, I am currently in a relationship, so sorry, ladies.
So could you walk us through some of your general values or principles with money when it comes to like dating or being in a relationship?
Yeah, personally, I think that first and foremost, sharing your salary with your partner shouldn't happen until you're in a situation where you are mingling finances, i.e., if you're married or if you're living together. I think that's when maybe sharing how much you're bringing home is a point of topic. I also believe you shouldn't allow money to or finances to be the main point, especially while in the dating phase, at least, me the main point of arguments. I think at the end of the day, finding love and finding the person that you want to marry, there's going to be so much time later in that marriage to fight about or argue about finances. So don't let this dating phase be about that. Try to make it lighthearted. Um, and then also, I think from the male experience, um, being more chivalrous to your partner is always a plus. So I tend to find myself wanting to pay more for dates and stuff like that. I think it helps show your partner that you're committed to them. I don't necessarily, I'm a bit more progressive where I'm not on the side of I have to pay for everything and anything and will never let my girlfriend pull out her card, but I'm not totally on the side of 50-50. I think 50-50 is a bit hard, especially because everyone's situation is different. And I think for me, what I like to see from a partner is just the openness to help out. At the end of the day, I'm okay with buying dinner. If she wants to get the tip for our server, excuse me, that's amazing. And that just shows me that she's also like understanding that, hey, this money that he's spending on the date that we're using together, or that we're enjoying together, is not just cultivating it out of thin air. It's coming from somewhere, and just that level of effort kind of shows that she's also invested. So I appreciate that a lot too in dating.
Okay, so sometimes we hear the line or the sentiment of her money's her money, but my money is our money. So where do you currently stand on that sentiment?
I mean, I feel like I've heard nothing wrong. Just kidding. I'm just kidding. Personally, I think that that's just, I think a funny line that is said. I think at the end of the day, if you're in a partnership, and I can maybe I'm not married, but I can speak from this from like a marriage perspective or just a dating perspective. I think from a dating perspective, it's a bit rough to kind of or brash to kind of jump to that point. I think at the end of the day, when I choose to use money in a date or whenever I'm hanging out with my girlfriend, it's purely a tool for me at that point, out of my leisure bucket, of course, to help enjoy time. I don't think it's supposed to be something that's cultivated as a flex to show off or impose status or anything like that. For me, money is just simply a tool to help us enjoy a time and have a good time. So that being said, I don't think it's necessarily like mine is mine, or I don't think more or less. I'm not trying to be close script all the time. I'm very like open to see certain things and experience different things well within as long as it's within my budget. And I too accept gestures from my girlfriend when she's choosing to pay for dinner this time or something like that. But I do, again, just to make it clear, I do believe that chivalry and kind of taking on that financial burden or front loading it a bit is more beneficial in the relationship because it kind of preps your mind to what marriage might be like. And then also like knowing that, hey, it's not always going to be even in life because not everyone's situation is the same.
Hopefully she sees this video and then she orders some caviar because I was like, she's a lucky woman, and I'm sure she is. Now, let's go ahead. I'm really curious about in terms of like financial capability, or sorry, financial compatibility, I should say. Do you feel like that's as important or as emotional compatibility in a relationship, or do you feel like it's like yeah, maybe second or third on the list?
um, it's not as important as emotional compatibility, definitely, but I think financial compatibility does play a strong role in a relationship. Um, I think there's a lot of stress that can happen if you don't understand your partner's spending habits. I think one thing that can quickly take someone for a whirlwind is, let's say I'm the kind of guy that typically, if I go to a restaurant, I just get an entree and that's it, and the water and that's it. But if I go on a date with my girlfriend and on the first date, she's like, "Oh, so what appetizers do they have?" And let's actually get the milkshake and dessert. I love it. Like that might throw me for a whirlwind because I'm not usually expecting that. And I think like compatibility is knowing that, hey, maybe I need to maybe bump up a little bit and maybe enjoy a little bit more out of my meals. Get a soda instead of a water and maybe try an appetizer. And compatibility from her end might be, okay, he's not typically used to just like going full in on a dinner, there he also wants to do something else after, and how can we make the budget for the night stretch a little bit further? Let's cut out dessert here, and maybe when we go to the movies, we can get an icy instead. Um, I think that's how compatibility kind of formulates in a relationship. It's more so like finding that level of compromise, and I think just first and foremost is just understanding your partner's spending habits to some degree. You don't have to fully interview them and figure it all out, but to some degree, understanding their spending habits will kind of get you level set and in tune to what it could look like when you are living together or even married.
Okay, no. Well, hopefully no fellas run into like, someone who has like $100,000 in debt and says like, hey, like this is your problem now. But needless to say, that I like what you're saying there. So now let's pivot this a little bit over into some previous reflection on your lifestyle. Is there one money mistake that Ernest has made in the past that you would advise against today?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't like to think too much on regret too much, but I will say I easily one thing I wish I'd done sooner was investing in the stock market and kind of understanding how the stock market works. I think from a young age, I have that Jordan Belfort, Wolf of Wall Street mentality of the stock market where, oh man, you just put a certain amount in and you're going to become a millionaire. Or I should have done a load of crypto when I was in college. But I think beyond all that stuff, um, I didn't really understand the market too well at a younger age. And by younger age, I mean just even straight out of college. I didn't really understand it and what index funds were or total market funds were. And I wish I knew about that sooner and maybe dabbled in like just doing not a whole load, but maybe $100 here and there or something like that. Because again, every little bit counts. That's something I just feel like I've learned since a young age. Every little bit counts, whether it's $1,000, whether it's $100, and just trying to get entry in is the most important thing. So I would say I wish I did that sooner.
All right, now let's look at some of like the viewers. So like middle child finance, like we're thinking about learning from like folks that are older than us, so that we can hopefully take some good advice. But let's also try to give some advice to those folks that are younger than us. So what's some advice, and it can be financial, career, relationship, that you'd give to a young adult watching that's either just graduating high school, college, or just beginning to take on the real world?
Oh dang, this is this put me in a real big brother situation. Um
Middle brother.
yeah, yeah, middle brother. I would say The advice that I would give someone graduating college, high school, or just a young adult is if you don't have a job, try hard, find a job. And once you have that, start trying to see how much you can save of your paycheck after expenses. And again, my standard that I've gained from reading The Simple Path of Wealth was 50%. If that standard isn't you, that's totally fine. Find that standard and just push it as hard as you can to make sure you hit that every time. I think also my personal belief is you are allowed to enjoy the money that you earn, so long as you're hitting your saving markers. Because at the end of the day, this world and life is going to be hard, and there's going to be up years, there's going to be down years, but just make sure that you try to balance it out with travel that fits within your budget, or concerts or experiences that work for you, or even if it's something material, something that fits inside, aligns with your budget. I don't think you need to necessarily be in a huge rush to jump to the cream of the crop and the top. It's okay to find something in between. So, whether a vacation, some people might think all expenses paid resort in Dubai, where maybe the in between is maybe you take a road trip to a major city and then enjoy a weekend at an Airbnb. That's a great vacation and a nice experience, you know? So I think it's understanding what opportunities are out there, even from a leisure perspective, so that, hey, there's ways I can save or make a situation a little bit better for myself. And then above all else, just make sure while you're saving and enjoying your money that you also just give back to the people that you love. And those are always your support system no matter what. And by doing those small investments in them in terms of, hey, let me grab lunch for you this time, or hey, I got you on this one, it always finds its way back to you. So just kind of giving back and knowing that the people around you are also who made you too.
Hey, I like that. Don't forget to invest in good old Tierno.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for all these great answers and the great discussion here. I want to wrap things up with one last set of rapid fire questions, and then
Yes.
we'll give you back the time. So, first off, crypto or real estate?
Yeah. Oh, okay.
No explanation, just crypto or real estate. If they want to know more, we gotta invite you back, and we'll dive deeper.
I say real estate.
Rent or buy?
Bye.
Starbucks daily or invested?
You gotta invest it.
And last but not least, target age to be financially free, meaning you don't have to work if you don't want to pay your bills. Yeah.
Oh man, I would like to be. I don't know. That's the fact that I don't have this actually at the top of my head is disappointing. But
Wow.
I will say that I do not want to work until the age of 65. I want to make sure that I'm financially free and able to retire at way before that.
Ah, I like it. All right. Well, that's all we have time for today, folks. Thank you so much for all your time today, Ernest. If we want Ernest back again, please let
Absolutely.
us know in the comments. And until the next video, spend less than you make, invest the surplus, and avoid debt. Later, folks.
See you guys.